we all know, definition of risk: uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has a positive or negative effect on one or more project objectives or on all overall project objective, right? So this is a risk, which is an uncertain event that may or may not happen to the project. Now, further, you will be seeing two types of risk: event risk and non-event risk. Most of the people get confused in differentiating event risk and non-event risk. So here you can see event risk: uncertain future events that may or may not happen. Event-based risk is uncertainty risk that may or may not happen to your project. If in case it may happen, definitely it will impact the projects. But if it will not happen yet, and it might not happen at all, if does happen, it will influence one or more objectives. So this is event risk, which is uncertain future events that may or may not happen to the project. Second thing is here non-event risk. Non-event risk are risks that are event-based and generally outside the control of the organization. So non-event risk is event-based risk, but it is not under control of project team or the organization. For example, customer may decide to significantly modify the project requirements. After seeing a prototype, or contractors may be acquired by another organization during the project, right? You have prepared a prototype and represented to the client. Once client checked the prototype, they decided that this project is not going to benefit them. This project might be distract for them. So they have decided they will not do this project. Can you do anything in that case? Can you force your client? No, you have to do it. You can't force. They have changed their mind. Why? Because the prototype given represented to them, they got to understand whether they should continue further on this project or should not. So they have decided they will not continue. And in this case, you cannot force them that you should have to do this project. You can't say that. So there is no control on this kind of risk. Also, if there is a contractor who was associated with your organization who have already acquired by any other organization during the project life cycle, how can you control? Are you going to stop the contractor to not merge, to not acquired by another organization? You can't do that. However, there is some term and conditions in the agreement between you and the contractor. So accordingly, you may take actions, you may further discuss, but of course, you can't control the merging of the contractor with another organization. So there is no control over such non-event risk. Non-event risk, further, we have two types. First, variability risk, and second, we have ambiguity risk. Let's discuss about variability risk first. Variability risk is uncertainty about some of the key characteristics of a planned event, activity, or decision. So variability risk is an uncertainty about what? About some key characteristics, like whatever event was planned, you are uncertain about that event, right? You are uncertain about some key activities. You are uncertain about the decisions in the project. So this is variability risk. Like here you can see risk caused by the inability to predict the future changes. And this variability risk can cause by the inability to predict the future changes. You are unable to predict the changes which may happen in the future. So you never know what is going to happen. You may predict, but not exactly, right? So that is variability risk. Means you are uncertain about some key development which may happen in the future. For example, you see here, It might include unexpected weather events, unexpected resource availability that impacts productivity. In the future, the weather events, nowadays rainy season is happening, but no one is know how long this rainy season can continue for another week, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. As a result, there can be floods in particular project area. So this is unpredictable. Similarly, unexpected resource availability. So resources was predicted, but exactly we did not predict it. How much can resources will be available more than planned or less than planned? So of course, if less than planned resources are there, the production will be less. If more than planned resources are there, the production may be increased. So this is how you can see the variation in the production. So this is known as variability risk. Now the question is how we should address this variability risk. So for that reason, we should use one of the most common techniques, simulation, which is Monte Carlo analysis. We use Monte Carlo analysis to see the probability, right? Now let's discuss the ambiguity risk. A lot like event risk, but more limited in terms of the unknown condition. So ambiguity is almost similar to the event risk that we have discussed earlier, event-based risk, but it is more limited in terms of unknown condition. So there is an unknown condition associated with this. How this risk is happen, you see here, like ambiguity risk can cause by a lack of understanding about events. So there is lack of information, lack of understanding about the events that we may have identified that can be happen in the future. Example like technology, governmental or industry regulations. So can you understand exactly which technology will be coming in the future? Technology is emerging day by day, right? Do you know the current government going to sustain, going to be stable for another 4 years or 5 years until your project will be completed? You don't know. Or industry regulations, the standard, every day there are updates coming. So the standard, the regulations today you have adopted, today you have planned, might be changed tomorrow. So of course you are going to adopt the changes. The government which may change tomorrow, of course, if they have changed the regulations, the policies, you are going to adopt those, right? So technology is also emerging. The technology which may change tomorrow, there are more better technology launching in the market, right? You are going to adopt those. So there is a risk, that ambiguity risk, which is all about lack of understanding about the future events. Means you are unable to understand about the technology, about the government situations as stability, about the industry's standard and regulations. So how can we address this ambiguity risk when we are planning the project? We can address this ambiguity risk by using incremental development methodology, like doing work in short iteration, getting feedback, and based on that, again refining the work and developing in the coming iterations. So this will minimize the risk. This will minimize the risk. Also, we can do the prototyping first. We can do the simulation first, which will let us know how can we move with the actual work. So this all will help us in predicting the ambiguity risk, right? So this is all about non-event risk. Remember, variability risk, ambiguity risk, master this risk. This is very important for your PMP exam perspective.